pleasure to see my piece of jewelry that I like to showcase sometimes. My title. So, Taylor, you can take this back. I just want you to see it. How are you doing this evening? Thank you, Tony, for having me here. And I really appreciate it. This is an honor for me and a pleasure. Thank you. God bless you. So today I'm going to take a few minutes and tell you what I am all about and how I am an overcomer and how I like to inspire women and men and children and everyone, because that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a good person and live your life in a good way, no matter what religion or ethnicity you are, where you come from. And what I have learned through my journey, I'm 49 years old, okay? When I was born, thank you. When I was born in 1968, we were going through what was the riots. I was born 2 weeks after the riots. So I was born into disaster, basically, here in Washington, D.C. It was a very down time. Martin Luther King had just been assassinated and everything, and we were going through a bad time, basically. Well, at the time I was born to a woman who had mental health issues. I had already had 4 brothers who were here on earth, and they had been back and forth into, if anyone remembers DC's best kept secret, Junior Village, anybody? Raise your hand. Best kept secret, right? It was an orphanage here in Washington, D.C. that was basically a breeding ground for criminals, I would say, because it was so badly, it was a bad situation. I'll tell you, I'll describe it. One of my social workers told me that when she would go there to get a kid to deliver the child to a foster home or such, she would get this, and it was right across from Blue Plains, so you can imagine the smell. So she said that it would remind her of a concentration camp, because the way that it was set up, it was built to house, at the time they used to call us Negroes, so it was built to house 300 Negro children. 900 showed up. So can you imagine 4 babies to a crib? Can you imagine not enough sleeping, not enough housing? So they had to build a tent city on the premises of this place. This is what Junior Village was about. So when I was born, I actually went to St. Anne's. I went home to my biological mother for a few months, I guess. And then I was back into the system in Junior Village. From Junior Village, I went into foster care. Okay, they eventually closed down Junior Village in 1972 because of the conditions. And I can start telling you from here. Freud says that your most impressionable years of your life, the times when you are built, when you are become who you are going to be, are in the first 5 years of your life. This is where my first foster parents come into my play. If I had not had that first couple who took my 4 brothers and myself into their home, I would probably be a different person. They came to Junior Village and got all 5 of us when I was 18 months old, and thank God for them, because they were the couple that showed me what love was, what real parents was about. I didn't know my real parents, so they were the only parents that I knew. They taught me what love and caring and hugs and compassion and all of those things were about. They taught me that. Because from there on, when I turned 5 years old, I went into a hellish situation, which was the next foster home. Now the thing about foster care is that when you're a kid, a lot of times, you have no idea why you move. All of a sudden, one day you just wake up and at our time, you're moving. And all I knew was those foster parents, and I knew them as my real parents. As a matter of fact, I tell a story in my book. Taylor, bring me one of my books. I tell a story in my book in one of the chapters about how I got a call. We got a call to our house, and this is my lovely daughter Taylor. So we got a call to our house, and we were living out in the country, and the social worker said, I want you to tell the kids that their father died. Well, I was so upset. I was about 4 years old then. I was so upset. As a matter of fact, I was devastated. I cried, probably had a temper tantrum or something. I don't know. I fell out and cried, and I remember it because it was an awful time. Well, at about 6 o'clock, my foster father walked through the door. And I looked up and I was like, oh my God, you played a trick on me. Daddy's not dead. And I ran over and jumped into his arms. Well, that was indicative because I did not know that that was not my real father. I thought that my foster father was my real father. That is how much he loved me and cared about me and such. But when I went into the second foster home, I call them the graves in this book, because I thought I was actually going to die. I had never been hit like I had been beaten in that home. I had never been sexually abused to that point like I had been in that home. I had never been mentally abused. All these sorts of abuses that go on. And I'm experiencing them between ages 5 and 9. So imagine. Now I have to say this. The great part about being in these foster homes, the ones that had the father figure, I've been in 13, and none of the foster fathers ever molested me. And I just want to get that out there, because a lot of times when people, they think, oh my God, those dirty men. No, it was usually someone within that circle that was a male, either a teenager or someone who had lived there before and such. And I'm just saying, sometimes it was even a woman, or I'm sorry, a teenage girls. So the obstacles that I had to go over in that home prepared me for the journey that I had to take throughout the next homes. Well, this book, Being Too Fierce, tells about my journey through the foster care system and going through 13 different placements. Like I said, a lot of times you never even knew why you were being moved. You just got up one day and you were told, you're going to be moved, and you just did it. So here comes the second phase of my life. I decided, all right, I want to go to college. So I go to college for 1 year, and I attended St. Paul's College out in Lawrenceville, Virginia. I graduated from Eastern High School. Been in 13 different homes, more than 13 schools. Now how do you graduate after doing that? You just do it, right? It's difficult. You just do it. 13 different churches. Do you believe in God? Who to believe in? Everybody in this church seems like they're BSing because the parents that I live with are beating the hell out of me when I get home. What's going on? Is this really real? So, all right, well, we're gonna keep the faith anyway and keep it moving. So here we go. Graduated from high school. No one thought I would do it. Went to college for 1 year, didn't trust the system, so I got out, joined the Navy. Got in the Navy, went there 3 years. It was the first time I ever traveled the world. I went to Japan, Hong Kong, Korea, Philippines, around the country. It was the first time I had been out of the States in my entire life out of Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, because I was a ward of the court. And when you're a ward of the court, you can't go anywhere unless you have permission. Did you know that? Yeah. That's how that works. It's just like prison to a degree. So can't, a bit like being on probation to a degree, right? You can't go anywhere. So I couldn't wait to get into the military. Did my stint in the Navy. All right, did it, got married, wanted to do everything right, had children, wanted to get my family started early, had my daughter Taylor and my son Gerald. Best thing that ever happened to me. My husband was wonderful, great dad. But there was something missing. When my daughter and son started school, I had been homeschooling them, but when they started going to school, I was like, okay, what am I going to do next? Well, I was sitting in front of the television, and at the time it was, Mike Tyson was on television, HBO, Don King undercard. Remember Mike Tyson, anybody? Yeah, you really? So, Mike Tyson, all right, it was one of his fights. But on this particular card, there was going to be a special presentation. It was a women's bout. Do you remember that bout? Christy Martin versus Bethany Payne. I'm sitting in my living room, and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? Now, I had loved Muhammad Ali since I was a child, because of course,